Tetairoa McMillan of the Carolina Panthers is on his way to being the next superstar wide receiver in the NFL. We've got an extensive look at him now at NFL training camp and also his first preseason game against the Cleveland Browns, and I've been very impressed with what he's been able to do so far. And it's not super surprising to me. I was very high on McMillan coming out of Arizona. His size is just unbelievable. He actually moves pretty good for his size as well. And anytime you have a receiver that is that good physically, pretty sure-handed as well, and has results in college for multiple years producing at a high level, there's also a pretty good chance he's good in the NFL. And I think McMillan is showing that so far. He's honestly shown really everything you would want to see in a wide receiver's first ever training camp. Couple of really impressive contested catches in the end zone or down the field, being able to stack cornerbacks on his hip and keep them boxed out so he can't have the body position to catch passes down the field. A big question mark with McMillan coming out of Arizona and why some people were not as high on him was his route running ability. It is pretty hard to be a great route runner when you are over 6'4", 220 pounds like McMillan is. You look at other receivers in the NFL that are similar in that size, like a Mike Evans, a DK Metcalf, a Drake London. None of those guys are known for being exceptional route runners. And somebody like DK Metcalf, for example, does not really have a super diverse route tree. He'll run slant routes, he'll run comebacks, he'll run flies. But outside of that, he's not really running a bunch of complex routes. And so early on, that could be the same thing for McMillan, where the Panthers utilize him on just a few routes to really maximize what he can do early on, but continue to develop the other areas of his route running so down the road, he can be one of the most complete receivers in the entire National Football League. And a lot of the clips that we've seen from training camp so far is the Panthers coaching staff putting a huge emphasis on wanting to improve his route tree and his feet, especially in route running. There's been a lot of one-on-one time of McMillan with the Panthers wide receiver coach, just kind of working on technique and his get off the line of scrimmage, but also even a lot of work with like the ladder drills, for example, just working on his foot speed. And I think having other veterans in the receiver room like Adam Thielen or even Hunter Renfrow, who are known as fairly good route runners, could be a very big asset for McMillan in his rookie season, even moving forward. And honestly, if we take a look at how McMillan was running routes in minicamp for the Panthers versus now towards the middle half of training camp, I do think we've seen some noticeable improvement, especially just the way that he sets up defenders and kind of manipulates them. But definitely the most exciting thing that he has showcased so far is just his ability to be a huge target for Bryce Young inside the red zone. It's very apparent their chemistry already. We saw it in joint practices against the Browns, and then even this past weekend, he had a couple of nice catches in the preseason game. One down the right sideline where he beat the corner off the ball, caught a beautiful over-the-shoulder catch on a perfect pass from Bryce Young. We had another one on an in-breaking route where Tetairoa McMillan again set up the cornerback, got to the spot, and caught the ball for a first down. And then one that many people don't talk about because it wasn't a completion was the pass inside the red zone where Bryce Young let it go with great anticipation, and McMillan was just a little slow out of his break to get to the football. But those things are really intriguing to see because Bryce Young clearly has a lot of faith in McMillan and trust him to win and get to that spot. And what you can notice is after McMillan does see that pass go incomplete, he acknowledges Bryce Young like, my bad, that was a great throw, I gotta do better next time. And so I think something like that is what we're going to continue to see work on the next few weeks before the start of the regular season, is just syncing up that timing. Because if they can master that, do you know how hard that is for defenses to guard if Bryce Young, before McMillan is even out of his break, the ball is practically already there? That is nearly impossible to stop if they have really good timing on those types of routes. And that is a big reason why I'm so high on McMillan as like a red zone weapon this year. I could easily see him have double-digit touchdowns as a rookie. I really don't think it's crazy to say McMillan can be one of the best red zone targets in the entire NFL his first season in the league. With his size and proven ability to just be a contested catch artist and having 31.5-inch arms, there's not many cornerbacks in the league that can guard him one-on-one. And then you pair it with the chemistry that he has with Bryce Young, if they can work on some of the back shoulders and even in-breaking routes with perfect timing, he's going to be such a unique weapon to use inside the red zone, and he's really going to help out the Panthers offense, which has been dying for a receiver like this in recent years. We know last year the Panthers spent their first-round pick on another receiver in Xavier Legette, and he was not great as a rookie. We did see him get utilized a little bit in the red zone. I think most of those targets this year are going to go to McMillan, and Legette's going to kind of go back to being a deep threat and more of the wide receiver 2 or 3 role, which I do think fits him more. So what that means is Tet is going to get a lot of the targets in this Panthers offense. If you have not had your fantasy draft yet, I would definitely take a flyer on him, at least in like the middle rounds. Whether you're playing redraft or especially dynasty, I think McMillan is going to be a great player even in year one. I know some people are scared sometimes to take a rookie because we really haven't seen them play in the NFL yet, but anytime you're going to be a wide receiver one in an offense, you are a physically dominant player as well. You already have shown great chemistry with the starting quarterback. I will buy all of that stock, and I think McMillan is going to be a steal this year in fantasy. And if McMillan is going to get his targeted as much as I think he will, I also think his odds for Offensive Rookie of the Year is great value as well. He's currently sitting at plus 1,300, which is fourth behind Genty, Ward, and Hunter. I know Travis Hunter is a unicorn player, but I don't think he's going to get as much production as McMillan because he's not going to be playing receiver full time. So if McMillan has over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, which I do think is in the realm of possibility, he's going to be on the short list to actually have a real chance to win that award. So I think plus 1,300 is fantastic odds. We also recently had a report from Jordan Schultz, who spoke with somebody that's a part of the Panthers staff, and they said he's been even better than advertised. Smooth, explosive, and already gaining trust from the quarterbacks. You can't take your eyes off him at practice because he's making so many big plays. Bryce Young also spoke on McMillan and said he's done a really good job of learning things, like where to line up, the playbook, and more, doing a great job with the mental stuff. It's easy for young guys to just block it out and go play football, which he's been doing his whole life. And at this point, McMillan could make or break Bryce Young's entire Panthers career. He's entering year 3 in 2025, and this is really when you need to see promise from your young quarterback because he's getting ready to sign his second contract. Most quarterbacks, if they've shown that they're good, usually get a deal after their third season. And in the first 2 years of Bryce Young, it's been filled with a ton of ups and downs. His rookie season, obviously, we know how disastrous of a situation that was. But he came back in year 2, had a new offense, new head coach in Dave Canales, and honestly looked the worst he ever had early in that season. He then got benched for Andy Dalton, got a few weeks to just sit down and just watch somebody else and learn the offense a little bit better. He came back in and had a really intriguing end to the 2024 season. And now it's about if he can carry that over. And what is Bryce Young? Is he more of the guy that we saw to end 2024? Or is it more of the guy we saw the first year and a half of his career? And what I like about the Panthers organization is they don't want to wait around any longer to figure that out. That's why they spent their first round pick on Tetairoa McMillan. That's why they got another receiver in last year's draft in Xavier Legette. They wanted to put a situation around Bryce where they could truly evaluate him and see if he can be their quarterback of the future. And me personally, I won't lie, during the draft process, I thought there was no way the Panthers should invest another top pick on an offensive player because their defense was so dreadful this past season. They lost their best player in Derrick Brown very early in the season, and then the defense pretty much fell off a cliff. So I looked around at the roster and was like, it's probably smart to invest in a pass rusher or somebody in the secondary. But based off of what the Panthers organization did, they're literally telling you the number one thing for us in 2025 is to see if Bryce Young is our quarterback of the future or if we need to go in a different direction. And if I was a Panthers fan, I think I would be pretty bullish on my Young offense because we do have a pretty good infrastructure now around Young. The offensive line was the unit that got a ton of upgrades in the 2024 offseason. They brought in Damian Lewis, they brought in Robert Hunt, they already had a couple of pretty good tackles as well. And this offseason was really to bring in the last missing piece, which was a true X alpha receiver on the outside, and to bring him into a receiver room that does already have some fairly good players like Adam Thielen, like Xavier Legette, like Jalen Coker, who was a rookie last season. The Panthers are ranked number 11 in the NFL in terms of their offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. They've now got 2 first-round pick receivers, a really good slot receiver still in Adam Thielen, and they also extended their running back in Chuba Hubbard, who has proven to be a good running back as well. So quickly, when you take a look at the offense, it's all going to come down to the trigger man, and that is Bryce Young and what he can do with his offense this season. I still don't know if their defense is good enough to get them to contend for a playoff spot potentially, but regardless if they make the playoffs or not, I think a successful season from the fan base and the organization would just to be a competitive team that has a really good offense, and Bryce Young takes another step from 2024. But from all accounts, first round pick Tetairoa McMillan may finally be the piece to get this offense over the hump. And that's gotta feel good for Panther fans that have had to watch a really dreadful team the past couple of seasons. But I want to know what you think about Ted McMillan and how many yards you think he will have as a rookie. Do you agree with me and think he can have over 1,000 yards in his first season, or are you a little bit less optimistic on his first season in the NFL? Let me know in the comment section down below. But be sure to subscribe if you are new, as less than 2% of you guys who watch these videos are subscribed, which is insane. So be sure to hit the big red button and drop a like in the video if you did enjoy it, as it really helps push this video out to new audiences. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.